If you believe in miracles, this message is for you. In this powerful speech inspired by the timeless wisdom of Dr. Joseph Murphy, you'll discover how faith, belief, and the subconscious mind work together to create extraordinary changes. What you accept as true today can become the miracle you experience tomorrow. Open your mind, strengthen your belief, and allow unseen forces to guide your life toward healing, success, and transformation. This is not just motivation. It's a reminder that miracles begin the moment you truly believe. Belief activates miracles because belief is not a passive idea or a hopeful wish, but a living mental force that sets unseen laws into motion. When a person truly believes, the mind moves from doubt into acceptance, and that acceptance becomes the doorway through which change enters life. Every miracle ever experienced begins at this invisible point where belief replaces hesitation. The moment belief becomes natural, effortless, and unquestioned, the mind stops resisting possibilities and starts cooperating with them. This cooperation is what allows circumstances, people, opportunities, and inner strength to align in ways that feel extraordinary. What many call a miracle is often the natural result of belief working without obstruction, because belief gives direction to thought, and thought gives direction to life. When belief is firm, the mind no longer argues with itself, and this inner harmony becomes reflected outwardly as progress, healing, success, and unexpected breakthroughs. Belief is power because the subconscious mind does not judge or analyze. It simply accepts whatever is impressed upon it. When belief is present, the subconscious accepts an idea as truth and begins to express it through conditions and experiences. This is why weak belief produces weak results, and strong belief produces powerful outcomes. Belief is the language the subconscious understands. Doubt speaks confusion, fear speaks limitation, but belief speaks certainty. Once certainty is established, the subconscious mind responds faithfully and consistently. This principle was taught repeatedly by Dr. Joseph Murphy, who emphasized that the subconscious mind acts according to the nature of the thoughts and beliefs held within it. When belief is positive, constructive, and confident, the results must follow the same pattern. Many people desire miracles, but secretly cancel them through inner disbelief. They say they believe, but their inner conversations are filled with fear, worry, and expectation of failure. Belief is not what is spoken aloud for others to hear. Belief is what the mind returns to when no one is watching. It is the dominant attitude behind the words. If the dominant belief is negative, even positive affirmations feel empty and powerless. But when belief is aligned with desire, affirmations become commands rather than wishes. The mind begins to move as if the miracle is not only possible, but inevitable. This shift changes behavior, perception, and emotional response, all of which contribute to the unfolding of new realities. Belief activates miracles because it removes resistance. Resistance is the true enemy of progress, not lack of ability or opportunity. When a person believes something is impossible, the mind erects invisible barriers that block creative solutions. But when belief opens the mind, solutions appear naturally. Ideas surface at the right moment, guidance comes through intuition, and chances are recognized instead of ignored. This is why belief often looks like luck to outsiders. They see the result, but not the inner readiness that made the result possible. Belief tunes the mind to possibilities that were always present but previously unseen. Faith and belief are closely connected, yet belief is the practical application of faith. Faith is trusting that a higher law is working. Belief is accepting that this law is working specifically for you. Without belief, faith remains abstract. With belief, faith becomes personal and active. This personal acceptance is what allows miracles to feel intimate rather than distant. When belief is strong, a person stops asking whether something can happen and starts preparing for when it happens. This preparation is often unconscious, but it is powerful. The mind reorganizes priorities, habits, and reactions to match the expected outcome. Belief also changes how a person responds to setbacks. Without belief, challenges feel like proof of failure. With belief, challenges feel like temporary adjustments along the path. This difference is crucial because persistence is born from belief. Miracles rarely appear instantly, they unfold through stages. Belief keeps the mind steady during these stages. It prevents discouragement from becoming permanent and stops fear from taking control. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" belief asks, "What is this leading me toward?" This subtle shift keeps the mind open and forward moving. The power of belief is not based on blind optimism, but on inner alignment. When belief is authentic, it feels calm rather than desperate. Desperation signals doubt, while calm expectancy signals belief. This calmness allows the subconscious mind to work without interference. Many people unknowingly sabotage miracles by constantly checking, worrying, and forcing outcomes. True belief does not force, it allows. It sets the intention and then rests in the certainty that the process is underway. This inner rest is one of the clearest signs that belief has taken root. Belief activates miracles because it shapes identity. When someone believes they are capable, worthy, and supported by higher laws, their identity expands. They begin to see themselves differently, and this new self-image influences every decision they make. Opportunities that once felt intimidating now feel appropriate. Success no longer feels like something meant for others. Healing no longer feels distant or unrealistic. This shift in identity is often the greatest miracle of all because external changes follow internal transformation. When belief changes who you think you are, life responds accordingly. Another powerful aspect of belief is repetition. Belief is strengthened through repeated acceptance of an idea. Each time the mind returns to a positive assumption, the belief grows deeper. Over time, it becomes automatic. Automatic belief is extremely powerful because it operates without effort. At this stage, the mind no longer debates or questions. It simply expects results. This expectation influences tone of voice, body language, choices, and reactions, all of which send consistent signals to the subconscious mind. Consistency is what turns belief into lived reality. Belief does not require perfect circumstances. In fact, belief often grows strongest in the absence of evidence. This is why belief itself is considered miraculous. It dares to accept a new reality before it appears. When a person believes despite appearances, they are choosing inner truth over outer confusion. This choice empowers the subconscious mind to reorganize circumstances in alignment with the accepted truth. What begins as an inner conviction slowly becomes an outer fact. This process may seem mysterious, but it follows a clear mental law. The mind expresses what it consistently accepts as true. The activation of miracles through belief also depends on emotional involvement. Belief is not purely intellectual. It carries feeling. When belief is accompanied by positive emotions such as gratitude, peace, or joy, it becomes even more effective. Emotion gives belief energy. It signals sincerity to the subconscious mind. A belief felt deeply is far more powerful than a belief merely stated. This is why visualization, prayer, and affirmation work best when they generate emotion. The feeling is the proof to the mind that the belief is real. Belief reshapes time perception as well. Without belief, waiting feels heavy and discouraging. With belief, waiting feels purposeful. The mind understands that something is developing beneath the surface. This understanding reduces anxiety and prevents impulsive actions that might disrupt the process. Belief brings patience, not as a forced discipline, but as a natural result of trust. When trust is present, urgency fades. The mind no longer feels the need to rush or control everything. Belief also influences relationships. When a person believes in positive outcomes, they interact with others differently. They communicate with confidence rather than neediness, with openness rather than defensiveness. This changes how others respond. Support appears where resistance once existed. Cooperation replaces conflict. These relational shifts are often mistaken for coincidence, but they are the social reflection of inner belief. People respond to the energy of certainty more than to words. At its core, belief is a decision repeatedly honored. It is not something that happens once and remains forever without attention. It must be chosen again and again, especially when circumstances challenge it. Each time belief is reaffirmed in the face of doubt, it becomes stronger. This strengthening process is what eventually makes miracles feel natural rather than shocking. What once seemed impossible becomes expected. This expectation is the final stage of belief, where the mind no longer asks for proof but lives from inner knowing. Expectation shapes reality because the mind is constantly projecting what it anticipates into the field of experience. What you expect does not remain confined to imagination. It quietly becomes a blueprint that guides perception, emotion, behavior, and response. The mind is always asking, often without words, what is likely to happen next? And whatever answer it repeatedly gives becomes the lens through which life is interpreted. When expectation is positive, the mind becomes alert to opportunity, cooperation, and solutions. When expectation is negative, the same mind becomes sensitive to problems, rejection, and delay. Reality appears to confirm these expectations not because the world is fixed, but because the mind selectively experiences what it is prepared to notice and respond to. Expectation works at a deeper level than conscious intention. A person may consciously want success, healing, or peace, but if their inner expectation is failure, struggle, or disappointment, that expectation quietly dominates. Expectation is what you truly assume will happen, not what you hope might happen. Hope without expectation has little power, but expectation carries certainty. This certainty influences how the subconscious mind organizes experiences. According to the teachings of Dr. Joseph Murphy, the subconscious mind accepts the dominant mental atmosphere as truth and expresses it outwardly. Expectation is a major part of that mental atmosphere. It is the silent assumption that shapes outcomes long before they appear. Everyday life offers clear evidence of this principle. When someone expects rejection, they unconsciously communicate insecurity through tone, posture, and hesitation. Others sense this and respond accordingly. When someone expects acceptance, confidence naturally shows in their presence, and people respond with openness. The external response feels like proof, but it is actually a reflection. Expectation sets the emotional tone first, and reality echoes it back. This process happens so smoothly that it often goes unnoticed, yet it operates continuously. Expectation also shapes how events are interpreted. Two people can experience the same situation and draw completely different meanings from it. One expects difficulty and sees obstacles everywhere. The other expects progress and sees lessons and adjustments. These interpretations then influence future behavior. The person expecting difficulty may withdraw or give up, reinforcing their expectation. The person expecting progress stays engaged, increasing the likelihood of improvement. In this way, expectation becomes self-fulfilling. It does not magically change circumstances in isolation. It changes how the mind meets circumstances. The power of expectation is especially visible in long-term outcomes. Short-term results may fluctuate, but persistent expectation creates patterns. A person who expects financial struggle will often make decisions rooted in fear, short-term thinking, or avoidance. Over time, these decisions accumulate into real limitations. A person who expects growth and stability is more likely to invest in learning, take calculated risks, and remain patient during temporary setbacks. These behaviors are not forced, they feel natural because they align with expectation. The results then appear consistent with what was expected all along. Expectation also influences physical and emotional well-being. When the mind expects improvement, the body often responds with relaxation, balance, and resilience. When the mind expects decline or illness, tension and stress increase. This does not mean expectation replaces medical care, but it highlights how deeply the mind and body are connected. The body listens to the mind's assumptions. Calm expectation supports harmony, while fearful expectation creates strain. Over time, this strain can manifest as fatigue, anxiety, or lowered resistance. Many people unintentionally train negative expectations through repeated inner dialogue. Statements like, "Things never work out for me," or "I always struggle," are not just expressions of frustration, they are instructions to the mind. Each repetition strengthens an expectation. The subconscious mind does not question these statements, it accepts them and looks for ways to express them. Changing reality, therefore, requires changing expectation, not through force, but through consistent redirection of thought. When the mind is gently guided to expect better outcomes, it gradually adjusts its internal patterns. Expectation is closely tied to imagination. What you repeatedly imagine with feeling becomes what you expect. If imagination is dominated by worry, the mind expects trouble. If imagination is directed toward constructive images, the mind expects success. Imagination is the rehearsal space of expectation. The scenes played there influence emotional response, and emotional response strengthens expectation. This is why controlled imagination is such a powerful tool. By choosing what you imagine, you choose what you expect. By choosing what you expect, you influence what you experience. Another important aspect of expectation is timing. Expectation does not always demand immediate results. Healthy expectation includes patience. It trusts the process without anxiety. Impatient expectation often collapses into doubt because it is tied to urgency. Calm expectation, on the other hand, allows events to unfold naturally. It is confident without being tense. This calmness signals to the subconscious mind that everything is proceeding as it should. Anxiety signals lack of trust, while calm expectation signals alignment. Expectation also shapes self-image. What you expect from yourself determines how you treat yourself. If you expect failure, you may criticize yourself harshly, avoid challenges, or settle for less. If you expect growth, you become more forgiving, persistent, and open to learning. This internal relationship affects motivation. People who expect improvement tend to keep going even when results are slow. Those who expect failure often stop early, reinforcing their belief. The difference is not talent, but expectation. Social environments are influenced by collective expectation as well. Groups that expect success often create cultures of encouragement and cooperation. Groups that expect failure tend to normalize excuses and blame. Individuals absorb these expectations, sometimes unconsciously. This is why changing personal expectation may require conscious effort when surrounded by negativity. The mind must be trained to choose its own assumptions rather than adopting those of others. This inner independence strengthens expectation and reduces susceptibility to discouragement. Expectation also interacts with faith. Faith provides the foundation, but expectation determines application. Faith says a higher order exists. Expectation says that order is active in your life now. Without expectation, faith remains theoretical. With expectation, faith becomes practical. Expectation gives faith direction. It answers the question, what do I believe will happen next? That answer shapes mental focus. Focus then shapes experience. Many people confuse expectation with pressure. True expectation is not demanding, it is accepting. Pressure implies doubt, while acceptance implies trust. When expectation is free of pressure, it feels light. It allows space for creativity and flexibility. When expectation is pressured, it becomes rigid and fearful. The mind then oscillates between hope and disappointment. Learning to expect without tension is a subtle skill, but it transforms how reality is experienced. Expectation can be retrained through awareness. By observing recurring thoughts and emotional reactions, a person can identify hidden expectations. If a certain situation always triggers anxiety, there is likely an expectation of negative outcome. Bringing this expectation into awareness weakens its control. Once seen, it can be gently replaced. The mind responds well to repetition. Each time a new expectation is chosen, it gains strength. Over time, the old pattern fades, not through resistance, but through disuse. Expectation also influences gratitude. When you expect good, you notice it more easily. Gratitude then reinforces expectation by confirming that positive outcomes are already present. This creates a reinforcing cycle. Expectation leads to awareness of good. Awareness of good strengthens expectation. This cycle gradually shifts overall experience. Life feels more supportive, not because challenges disappear, but because the mind interprets events through a constructive lens. The shaping power of expectation becomes most evident during uncertainty. When outcomes are unclear, expectation fills the gap. The mind dislikes uncertainty and seeks an assumption to hold on to. That assumption becomes expectation. Choosing that assumption consciously is one of the most important mental skills. Instead of allowing fear to decide, the mind can be trained to expect guidance, learning, or eventual clarity. This choice does not deny difficulty, it defines the direction in which difficulty is resolved. Expectation also determines how advice and information are received. If someone expects solutions, they listen differently than someone who expects confirmation of problems. The same words can inspire one person and discourage another depending on expectation. This selective reception shapes future decisions. The mind filters information according to what it expects to find. This filter operates constantly, shaping perceived reality moment by moment. Over time, expectation becomes habit. Habitual expectation is powerful because it no longer requires conscious effort. It becomes the default state. When the default expectation is positive, life feels easier even when effort is required. When the default expectation is negative, life feels heavy. Even when circumstances are neutral, changing default expectation is not instant, but it is possible through consistent mental discipline and gentle self-correction. Expectation does not mean denying present reality. It means interpreting present reality as part of a larger process. When something goes wrong, expectation frames it as temporary, rather than final. This framing preserves motivation and emotional balance. Instead of collapsing into discouragement, the mind remains flexible. Flexibility allows adaptation, and adaptation leads to progress. At its deepest level, expectation is agreement. It is the mind agreeing with a certain version of reality before it fully appears. That agreement guides attention, emotion, and action. What you agree with internally becomes what you cooperate with externally. Cooperation strengthens patterns. Patterns solidify into experience. This is how expectation quietly but consistently shapes reality through the continuous interaction between thought, feeling, perception, and response.